started in engineering, moved over to product, is now exploring the TA space, the lovely TA space. And him and I have been chatting quite a bit as well. I think Anikit's doing a great job of really trying to pick the minds of recruiting leaders and people in our space. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity to do a Syelo take. Anikit kind of knows a little bit of background on Syelo Tank. We'll be doing the pitch. We'll be giving some feedback, answering any questions, asking questions. But feel free to come off mute if y'all all have questions. But I'll let Anikit kick off with the intro, and we'll kick off with the demo.
Yeah. So I'll give a quick intro about myself, then I'll talk a little bit about SkillSheet and why SkillSheet. Introduce the team. I also have my co-founder, the technical brains behind all of this, Aditi, on the call as well. And then we'll do 10 minutes approximately on like just going through the deck, and then 10 minutes on the demo. But like I want to make sure that this is pretty casual, so feel free to like interrupt me at any point in time, ask questions, comments, anything of the sort is all goodness. And then at the end, we'll leave plenty of time for very specific Q&A as well. So first of all, again, thank you, folks, for joining, and thank you for having us here. And also thank you, Sabrina. You've been a great thought partner and leader to work through with this. And I know, and you'll see how much, because there's a quote from Sabrina in the deck as well, and I've used this when I've talked, when I've done this in a couple other places as well. So as Sabrina said, my background comes from tech. So I started off actually as a developer, and then I moved on to being a product person. The last thing I did was like we didn't really have a product person or a leader, and so I found myself moonlighting, really loved the job and loved talking to people, understanding their problems. And so that's what I've dedicated the rest of my career to. And in the process, I've worked with and worked in a lot of different teams, both inside of large companies like Microsoft, but also as the chief product officer, head of product at startups, going from like zero until like acquisition. So I had a successful exit. That was exhilarating. That was amazing. And obviously for me, that wasn't enough. So I wanted to do something like that by myself. And so that is the genesis of SkillSheet. Funny enough, SkillSheet wasn't the very first thing. Like it wasn't the first idea that we picked. Both Aditi and I, we had 4 to 5 different hypotheses, 2 of them in HR tech and the rest weren't really in HR tech. But we wanted to go and explore what is possible and where the market has an organic pull for. And this was the one, SkillSheet was the one where we didn't really market it in any way. People were offering to use our product and even pay us, which is how we found our first paying customers. And so we were like, all right, we got to double down on this and we got to go all in. And of course, as part of like doing this, it's been very sort of customer-led and focused on customer discovery, which is how I connected with Sabrina a while back, and she's been gracious enough to connect me with a few other people, and then like that kind of chain has gone on, and I think we've talked to like well over 230, 40 people, both inclusive of like candidates, various disciplines, various levels of experience, but also like CHROs, VPs of talent, et cetera, like actual recruiters who have been in the industry for a while, and also people who are like relatively new to the industry as well. So, all right, without further ado, let's jump in. Any quick questions before I go in? No. Okay, all right, awesome. So, with SkillSheet, the North Star, we're trying to build a trusted knowledge graph of human expertise. And I'll go into what I mean by that a little bit later. There we go. Anyone here disagree with this statement? I'd really love to know, because you'd be the first one to disagree with this. Yeah, okay, I see some heads shaking with some, I don't know, maybe even some PTSD, I'm guessing. Anyway, so quick quiz. I'm gonna posit that I'm going to give this to you. Half of these LinkedIn profiles are fake. Can you identify which ones, and how long do you think it'll take to identify? I don't know, like I look at Jennifer Grace, she looks like a nice, maybe possibly like a middle-aged director of recruiting, and looks like somebody who might bring cookies during the holiday season, something like that. But she's not real, right? And it's hard to tell based on this, like more than half of these, and by the way, these are LinkedIn recommended profiles. Like I didn't go searching for them. LinkedIn recommended these to me. Yeah, exactly it is. And I'm glad you agree. In fact, so let's say we go with Sophia Carter, because that looks like maybe that might be a hard picture to like generate, and there's like stuff in the background. So maybe she was at like some kind of a convention, conference or something, and we look at her profile and maybe we are interviewing her. How long into this process do we realize like Sophia and her experience are not real? Apparently she was a recruiter at Meta, and apparently she was a talent acquisition specialist at Deloitte. But here's a problem. None of this is true. This experience isn't true. This person doesn't even exist. And this is a real problem. I've been subject to this, where people on LinkedIn have reached out to me saying, hey, I am a family or representing a family office, and we're interested in investing in you. The family office exists. The person does not. Right? So this is very, very real, very, very much a problem today. And this is just like, if you just look at the cost of a miss at a particular stage in the hiring process, and no matter recruiter does product, etc., 50x, yeah. This is just assuming like how much do you lose in terms of monetary value, and we're not even including like brand damage to the brand or anything of that sort, right? This is just like I spent a bunch of hours like going through this process, and I'm already losing a bunch of money. There's opportunity cost as well, right? And this has been a broader problem. I won't. It seems like generally everybody agrees, so I'm not going to be too much on this point, but it's been a problem. Like this was in the news. I'm sure a bunch of you all caught it. Like this was on CBS. And North Korean workers apparently generated like well over $500 million in just 2024 that they got from getting jobs in the US that they were not qualified for by faking their way in and sending that money to North Korea. Again, it's hard to quantify the actual dollar value of this, but MasterCards, and there's a source and everything, so you can go read it up. But the synthetic identity fraud in total, and this was in 2023, this has accelerated multiple double-digit percentage since then, was 23 billion. But again, this includes all kinds of identity, synthetic identity, not just recruiting, but recruiting is definitely part of this. And so what we do at SkillSheet is one of the larger value props is think of us like providing KYC for the talent process, right? Or TA process, which is KYC typically in fintech. Like if you go open up a bank account or something, it's like know your customer or know your client. In this case, it is know your candidate, right? Is the candidate who they say they are? And so we have a few different levels at which we do this. There is a baseline level, which is always free, that we verify that this is a real person and will weed out synthetic identities. Then this particular one is one that we actually will use a government-issued ID to perform identity verification at scale. So whether you have one identity you want to verify or 1,000, we'll do that. It takes less than a minute, and it's pretty quick and scales out pretty well. And so one of the people that I interviewed in this process is Sarah. She's the chief people officer at Dockyard. And I think, Sabrina, you've talked to her as well. And you heard her story of how she was involved with or FBI got involved because they ended up hiring somebody that they thought was in like Idaho. And it turns out that this person was actually in like Angola. And so there's multiple of these instances where the people are willing to pay extra money just to have this kind of verification done before anyone in the team gets involved. If I would actually love to hear, one of the questions for you all is, forget the dollar specific value, but is this something that there's willingness to pay within the audience here? Any quicks, yay, nay? Yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up. Okay. All right, so we'll keep going. And so that's not the only thing that we do, though. That is the baseline functionality. Has been a theme in few of our community threads. Yeah. We provide a baseline level of skill assessment as well to prevent people who are using deep fakes. And like you saw the CBS News article about like that entire interview was, for example, fake, right? So we want to eliminate that, and at the end we want to inject trust back into the system, and not at the cost of, hey, everybody fly candidates back to wherever you physically are and meet with them in person. Like, that is expensive. And I think post-COVID, we might all be, or a bunch of us might be working from office, but I think those kind of expensive in recruiting processes seem to have not come back, right? And so our AI has a conversation with the candidate with the intent to understand their background. So we're not using this as an interview, to be clear. This is more having a conversation with the candidate to dig into their background and to create a profile. And the profile that we create includes all of the information that you typically need. So their work authorization, their visa kind of status, whether they are only open to work remotely or not, specific location, if they're available to relocate, their availability both of the start date, but also their calendar if you wanted to just go in and set up some time with them as well. Instead of doing this back and forth of like, hey, can you give me like time slots over the next 2 weeks for us to have a conversation? Of course, we have their LinkedIn as well, so you can go in and take a look at that as well. So ultimately, what we want to put together is this profile that you can use, that recruiters and talent folks can use, or even hiring managers can use, to make a decision quickly whether they want to spend additional time on this person or not. Like, we are not trying to eliminate interviews completely. In fact, the bet that we are making is human beings want to hire other human beings. And I can go to length about this, but human beings want to hire other human beings. Like, I've talked to all sides of this, like hiring managers and candidates and talent leaders. And ultimately, everybody wants to talk to the human on the other side. It's just that AI and the current reality has made that really, really difficult. And so instead of injecting AI and separating people or adding a wedge between them, we want to have our AI go behind and give people superpowers so that they can connect on a human to human level. And the decision making is still something that humans do. It's just that the boilerplate stuff and all of the trust that has been removed from the system, we want to add that back, right? And so there are two ways, of course, that you could go and hire. You could open a job rec and post it, and you have a bunch of inbound stuff. But there's a bunch of data, and this is specifically coming from Ashby, sourced candidates yield the highest quality hires, and even higher than referral. And it kind of makes sense because you're going and finding people specifically for a particular role instead of saying, okay, this person is good or good enough, right? And so the sourcing itself is painful and expensive. And in this case, as Sabrina said, like, we've exhausted our search for engineers on LinkedIn. And so when she said that, I was like, how is that possible? Like, I'm sure LinkedIn has lots of people. She's like, yeah, that's true, but like, good talent exists, but it's hard to identify them based on like whatever they have on LinkedIn, right? And so when you think about that, and I was like, okay, let me go try this out. And so I have LinkedIn, SalesNav, and I've gone and tried it. It is hard to find people when you say you have specific needs. a lot of that ends up being manual. And so the world that we want to build for everyone here is we want to build the world's deepest like talent database. By virtue of having these AI-led conversations, we are learning more about the person and generating profiles that have a lot more than what their resume has in bullet point format. So how do they think? How do they solve problems? And are they decisive? Are they opinionated or not? Are they proactive? Like all of these things, we can actually help build a particular cohort for you when you go and look for particular talent. So you can actually go in and say, hey, I want a PM who communicates with purpose and clarity. This person is going to be demoing a lot to like senior leadership. And I want somebody who understands the technical nature, but can also sort of simplify it and make it easy for execs to understand. And we'll actually be able to do things like that. So that's kind of, we'll look at that at the demo. I'm gonna go ahead here. There definitely are a lot of solutions in the space. Like I have a notion of about like 70 pages, one for each solution that I have gone and looked at. There are solutions for like resume ranking and even for like AI that will completely interview human beings or candidates. The one thing that I haven't yet found is something that addresses, one, the trust back in the system at scale at a relatively low cost, super quickly, and also provides high depth matches in a sourcing manner. And so today, when you're looking at outbound or sourcing, LinkedIn, Indeed, and a few of these other platforms are top. I have yet to meet somebody who's a recruiter in the talent space and is a big fan of LinkedIn. And so clearly there is definitely room in this space. So we see ourselves operating in an overall crowded market, but in one segment or one portion of the market that we don't see a lot of competition in. And I'd love to, once I'm done with this, or if somebody wants to just unmute, I'd love to hear people's thoughts about this as well. And just to compare us with like some of the existing solutions. So this is Bolto, Y Combinator company, has been around for 2.5 years. They've raised 5.1 million. On the left is us. Real screenshots, both, by the way, nothing has been changed. Like 2 months in, fully bootstrapped, self-funded, and like the difference is like you can see for yourself, right? So we move fast, we develop fast, and we already have like 4 paying customers. We have an LOI signed with like 40 colleges, which will enable access to up to 10,000 students for SkillSheet to help them stand out using their profiles. And then we have a pipeline of like channel partnerships, a couple of them that are local to, or rather not local, they're headquartered in Seattle, work nationally with agencies and VC firms, where we'll be the partner of choice for their portfolio companies as well. All right, so this is one of the customers, Amit. This is interesting because he said, hey, I'm able to identify skilled data engineers in minutes, so my job is much easier. But the thing that he said that really stuck out to me that I personally hadn't even considered is like, I can go into a full loop so much better prepared because now I know where I need to dig into without having to just like ask them surface level questions, because I've got all of that out of the way and I can really dig in. And so when I have somebody that I'm hiring, I have a much higher degree of confidence. On the candidate side, the candidate experience is also great because like this is a VP of product at ETS, the company that does all of the education related testing. And he was like, hey, this is great. Like this gives, in a crowded market, this actually gives candidates an advantage because I can use this to send my profile to founders, CEOs, hiring managers, and get their attention instead of just sending a resume or saying like, hey, I'm interested, like is there something that we can work out here, or get on a call with me. We have a pretty amazing team. I introduced myself. I also talked about Aditi Bemble. She is the ex-director of engineering at Microsoft. We are both working on this full-time. This is not a part-time thing for us. She's shipped products to well over 200 million active users on a monthly basis. Both of us have hired teams from like 0 to like dozens. And then we also have Meenu Agarwal, who is somewhere between right now a active advisor and a co-founder. But she comes with a very strong background. She's a ex-CRO, CCO from Equifax Workplace Solutions. During her time there, she acquired about 5 to 6 companies in the talent space, and she owned the entire portfolio for Equifax that goes from like talent acquisition all the way to onboarding, offboarding as well. She worked at Workday as well. So we have a pretty good team from like a product, technical, and GTM perspective. And yeah, that's SkillSheet. Like we want to build this know your candidate or KYC for sourcing. I am going to pause here before we go into a demo to answer any questions. Please, Shannon, go for it.
The question for the visa, you know how it pulled up and could tell you your visa status. Is there any way for it to tell you if like someone's on an H-1B and maybe they only have a few weeks left or a few months left? Or
yeah, we've been looking at that. We don't have a solution yet. We know how we can solve it. It's not something that we've solved, but we have a way that we can solve. We need to go prototype it and prove it out. But you're right. That is one of the things. Actually, let me flip that around. If that would be a thing, how helpful would that be?
Oh, so I can't tell you how many times like recruiters in my different teams and different companies have gotten all the way to the end and they knew they needed like a sponsor, like, oh, you need an H-1B or a TN or whatever. And or they had one, and they get to the, I should say that, and they get to the offer stage and then they're moving through, and it's like when they start to get the paperwork and all that, it's like, wait, you're going to expire in a few months. Oh yeah. It's like, I think it's just, it will allow you to move fast and be critical for you to be able to know, like, are they like, and it also gives you a sense, if someone doesn't bring that up in the beginning, it also gives you an aha moment. Yes. So I just think it would really save a lot of time.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So we have this thing that we're building, which we call like just-in-time or progressive verification. So depending on where in the stage you are, we want to get more and more information automatically without you having to like manually keep track of all of these things. And so we can see this being like slotted into one of these sort of phases before you get to the stage where you discover this too late, right? I see a comment in the chat. It's illegal for us to ask, so not sure if legal to share that info. Would be great if you could.
Yeah, I'm saying we're not allowed to ask an interview. We can ask if you have the right to work or need future sponsorship. And a lot of time candidates say, yeah, I've got an H-1B, it expires in 6 months, 3 years, renewal date's this. But yeah, we as recruiters, I'm pretty sure, I know in California, we can't legally say how long is left on your visa, which is quite a painful. I've had many times we go through an offer process and then it's like, you then find out, or legal jump in when they receive a copy of the right to work to say, hey, did you know? Yeah, hopefully I've got that right and haven't been screwing this up for the last few years, but I'm pretty sure we can't ask.
Well, so the question become, can you then, I mean, if you've got something that's pulling and using AI to pull that and can find that, is that a bad thing, right?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. It'd be great if we can.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing you, Glenn. I'm trying to think that's illegal because you can work. Are you authorized, or do you need to help if you like? Are you authorized to work in the U.S. or are you going to need any kind of sponsorship? They can answer that. So I just think and I also think like comp data. I don't know. I don't want to plug while I'm still talking, but I don't know if this can verify compensation or if that gets too weird.
So I think honestly, Shannon, that's a really good point. There are a couple of actually ways that we can get that data. It's a matter of like in our roadmap, where do we prioritize the current customers that we have? Like identity verification has been their biggest pain point. to the point like some of their customers are like aerospace and whatnot, where even a single candidate, and it has happened, it's not a single, like they've sent multiple fake candidates. Even the company was fooled, and halfway through the process or towards the end they realized. So they want to solve this more. But to your point, like that is something that we want to provide as well. One way that we can see that is just leaving an optional field where people can proactively put what they're looking for.
And I was going to say that that's probably actually tipping more into like maybe a legal situation more than even the visa, because you can't ask for that. It's more like we need to share the ranges. I just think it would cut out so much noise if we could just know what we're dealing with and what their the situation and their comp expectations, and just move on. But
yeah, I mean, but from a legal perspective, from the legal advice that I've received, we can't ask people what they're paid today, but we can definitely ask like, what do you expect? I think that's perfectly fine. And so giving people like an optional thing where you're like, hey, don't waste your time, don't waste our time, might be interesting. Yeah. So Scott, have you thought about integrating with background check vendors to do profile validation? So yes, what we are actually doing here is the verification that we are doing. The system that we use is the very same system that does verification for Airbnb, Turo, Uber, Lyft, all of these platforms. It's the exact same one that we're using, and it also does like a liveness check. So you can't just hold like a picture. It'll have you like look at the camera and then move your head, and it'll tell you to like move your head, roll your head, stuff like that. And you can try this out. I'll put a link in chat either now or afterwards. You can try it out in real time. And then from a profile perspective, we do have a couple of things in the works, especially about like if you've seen on LinkedIn. Actually, let me screen share and we'll go through this because we're going to do a demo with a browser window anyway. LinkedIn does let you do I share my screen. Okay, fine. Share my entire screen, I suppose. You all can see this or no? No. Okay. All right. I guess it took a minute. So LinkedIn. So this is. I'll go to my profile. You can see that I'm verified, right? It has the nice little check mark with the.
Sorry, guys, mine's really blurred. Can anyone else see it?
Blurry.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe refresh it, and I think it's like a little blurry, or it's like not formatted.
Oh. Is this better?
No, it's blurry. Yeah.
Give it a second. I think it's going to blur every time you change pages. It can clear up.
Yeah, it kind of started clearing up like right before you switch. Oh, it's like
a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
A few more seconds, maybe.
Just give it some time.
All right, Google, do your thing. Because
enhance.
We're on a gigabit network, so I don't know. Anyway, but you have seen this. Like the thing that I was about to show is like the shield icon next to my name, right? Like with the check mark on LinkedIn. And you've seen this. I'm sure all of you have done this. And so there's verification. But here's okay. Thank you. It's not blurry anymore. Great. Google Meet got its mind back. But the funny thing is, like, you can see I've added a little rocket behind my name. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And I've done this demo where I've shown people, I go and edit my name and I name myself Mark Zuckerberg. And LinkedIn is like, you're Mark Zuckerberg, we verify their identity. Great, right? So there's nothing, the identity verification here means nothing in a way. It just means that there was some kind of verification done. That's all. It doesn't mean that the name here, the picture, like, and who I am as a person are actually connected. And therein lies the problem. And so the thing that we have, going back to like the profile, is Aditi and team are working on this right now so that we'll do the actual verification and we'll fail the verification if the name is different from whatever is on your government issued ID, which does have its pros and cons, but I think that gives a lot of confidence, we think, about like who you see and what you see there is what is happening in reality. And we have integration with a bunch of data sources where we go and verify this as well. So we'll actually go and verify like the email address and the phone number. We verify the email address. So assumed identity is also something that we weed out. We've had instances where people shared that somebody else's LinkedIn was used. So the LinkedIn profile is verified. The experience all looks good, but the person using it is not the person the profile belongs to. So their entire profile was basically being hijacked, which is a bit different than creating a whole new synthetic identity, right? So we prevent those kind of things by verifying their email address, their phone number as well, to know that the person really is who they say they are. All right, so let me go and give you a live demo of what this looks like. So this is my own skill sheet. And we do a 1-minute intro video. I've done this before, like I created this quite a bit before. And I can actually play the audio. Is it playing on the? Okay, I'll drop a link. You all can play around with it. But there is, believe me, there is audio in the. I'll turn it off from my end. But yeah, there's captions as well. So we do a 1-minute intro. It intentionally capped at 1 minute. This is just like, tell us about yourself. We don't want people rambling on. It is to give you a realistic, like, do you even want to spend additional 30 seconds by scrolling down and learning more about this person or not, right? That literally is the entire goal of this. And then on the left side, we have the profile picture, and you can see this is identity verified, and we tell you when the identity was verified and how the identity was verified as well. So this was using a government issued ID. By the way, we respect privacy and security, and we are privacy preserving. We do not store people's copies of like somebody's driver's license or something like that. Like, we don't get that information. We don't store that information. We don't want that information, because we just want to do the verification. And that is the part that is important to us, especially we get maybe one or another thing, like we get the name that was on the document. And then if the document was like expired or something like that, but we don't want any information that might feel like an invasion of privacy here. Yeah, access to LinkedIn. So I can click that, and you can see my LinkedIn. And we draw these kind of keywords based on the resume, the conversation, the intro video that I've done as well. And as I was showing, like work preferences, there are a bunch of other fields in here that I don't have on my profile, but they're there for somebody who really wants to provide that as well. We provide experience highlights, so that it's basically a scrunched up version of the things that we think based on their resume, or AI things based on the resume and the conversations would be interesting for you to know without having to go and read everything about a particular person. And this is the other portion. Now, let's see if I'll pull this up and hopefully we'll get you to the audio will play. All right. Was the audio there? No? Okay, let me try resharing. Maybe there's a setting, and hopefully this doesn't make things blurry again. I don't see a setting to turn this on and off, like anything that says anyway, this is a bummer, but basically, no.
I think it like starts playing audio, and then it kind of, I think it's just delayed. No.
So what is it? Okay, that's a bummer, but you can try this out on your own side. What is happening is we have a pretty real lifelike AI that has a conversation with the candidate here with the intent to dig in and understand. So for example, if the candidate says, okay, I'm a backend engineer, I architected this backend system, let's just say. The AI then says, okay, tell me a little bit more, like what specific problem did you solve? And if the person says, well, our old system was like really old and clunky and we needed a modern system. It'll keep digging on with the intent to understand more. And the reason for that is on both sides, like candidates aren't really like, there are two different skills that you need when you look for a job, right? One is the set of skills to do the job, and then there is another completely different set of skills to find a job and to project yourself. Can you send the, okay, yeah, actually here, I will send these as well. Sorry about the long links, but these are like demo videos that we prep just in case something like this happened. But it's also available on my profile, so you can view in either location. Anyway, so that is all of the candidate experience. We'll also show you the recruiter experience. So we have something that we're launching this week, which is Apply with SkillSheet. So we have a launch partner that on their career website. So they are a managed services provider. They hire quite a bit of people, and they're going to replace their apply button with like an apply with SkillSheet button. So they'll have their job description and you go in, hit apply, and they go through the process of picking this is on my end. I pick my skill sheet essentially and say I'd already applied with this one, but I'll say like apply with SkillSheet. And in this case, this was an incomplete profile that I had created. But if it is incomplete, like I know that it is not complete, and I am prompted to go and complete the skill sheet by providing the information that is missing, and then I can apply using this particular profile. So that is going live later this week. We have, okay, let's do this. So we have candidate search. This looks through our existing database, and I can go in and say Databricks, data engineer, and we'll go and look through everything that we have, not only their resume and whatever they've provided, but also all of the conversations that they've had and through all of their transcripts, and find people who are relevant. We'll rate the match, and we'll bring that up, and you can quickly go through these one after the other, and you can decide if you want to like shortlist this person or not. I can just hit shortlist. I'm not going to go through with this, but we have a way where you can, once you poke this button, they receive an email saying, hey, we found a job that you might be a match for and somebody's considering. Click here to finish your application process. So it does that automatically on the background, and the person can come in and say, okay, I'm interested. Tell me more. Let's see what else. One other thing, actually, I do want to show you all. This is something we haven't released in production yet, but I do want to bring that because we were talking about how hard it is to source. We have a few different data sources that we're using to gather. Thanks, Tony. That we gather user profile and experience data, like validated data. And so I can go in and I can say, I'm looking for like data engineer in not Bay Area. You can, I don't know, like somewhere in Florida, and don't really care. I can say I want like 5 years of experience. And what we're doing here, I'll say like limit 2. What we're doing is we're going through the process. We're going through our backend. We have access to about 700 million different profiles that we can go pull in and then put them through the process of, all right, go verify your identity or go create your profile, and then we'll put you through the interview process if this looks interesting to you. That is what we have. Our end goal, as I was saying, is to build this sort of, so we got 2 profiles. I can go back through this search process and actually go look for the candidates that I just imported from those 700 million, excuse me, profiles. I will stop here because I see people have to jump to other meetings, but I want to save time for Q&A and also if I can get some questions in as well.
Yeah, any questions / feedback for Aniket from the group? We'll start on our end.
I would just say I love that you're going after the fake accounts because it's really getting kind of crazy. I'm surprised about how crazy it is right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Among other things, I'm not saying that's all you're doing.
I know. No, I know that's the one that our current customers have immediately gone and said, I'll pay you for that.
It's wasting a lot of time and energy and just disappointing.
I think, I know you have some questions you want to ask the group, Aniket, so feel free. If anyone has questions that they think of, feel free to drop them in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'm curious about a couple of different things. Like I want to know from the current ATS systems that are that people on this call are using. One, what is the ATS, and what's the #1 place that you find that ATS is falling short in? All right, thanks, Glenn. Bye.
I can kick this off.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Bukala. Go ahead. Okay.
Sorry.
You go.
Yeah, I use Greenhouse as my ATS system. I don't, as far as just to take it from my pain, which would be the number of fake profiles, the number of candidates that are applying to source through or pick through. And yeah, I think this would be a really good solution if you know, especially if you could get some kind of ranking system, a way to find out their status. I don't really need to know, like if they have 3 months or whatever, just, you know, a way to confirm their status, green card, US citizen, H-1B, whatever. You know, just ways to you know, get to sift through the mass of applications that are there would be, and define a useful tool that you could that's out there would be, I think, definitely a value add.
Yeah, we actually, which Aniket, you skipped because of time, we actually do have a job match analysis tool that ranks and compares candidate, and you can do a bulk analysis. It will rank the candidates. It will actually show the skills that match the job requirement. It highlights texts and shows green, yellow, red for skills that are matching, absent, need more information. It drives, we get the data from all possible sources to make that match. So that does exist.
I'll go again. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. I would love to see it too, be able to kind of tee up or remind us about going back to a candidate. Let's say an engineer says I'm on a project, and during the deep dive, you find out that the project's like launching in December, you know, so then you're like, January, I want to like reach back out, you know, and just so that kind of thing would be really helpful, almost like a CRM. I think would be awesome for this. Well,
And then just some initial feedback. If you could find a smart tool that not only, you know, that can train, like an AI tool that can train, that maybe if you particularly like length of assignment, some people, you know, recruiters like to say, like, see, you know, continuity, 3 years of experience, 3 years at this job, 3 years instead of job hoppers or what have you. Some people like, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And the ability to train the AI in a way to rank the
Yeah.
candidates to would be an awesome, tool. Also,
That I agree. That makes sense. That does make sense, and we do have a way to doing that now. It's basic, but it does exist. Like we can definitely enhance it a lot more by just saying, "Hey, point it to your existing thing, like transcripts or whatever else," and it'll use your style and tone and things like that, and train itself. But we do have a way today for you to go in and put some stuff. Like the same way that you can go and put in chat GPT, we have a way of like personalizing that today, but it can definitely get better. And combine duplicate profiles. Not right now, but that is a really good. That
Oh
is
my gosh, yes. That's a very valuable thing to have. 100%.
That's
And it'd
fantastic.
be great if it like saw to and it went, okay, this is the same, clearly the
Yeah.
same person, same experience, but we have their old email or their old phone number, that kind of thing. Or they have new certifications or whatever.
Oh, that's good. That's a really good point.
And again, I have a question. It's kind of more of like a little bit outside of the realm of your question, but one thing that we've seen a lot is that recruiters don't want to have multiple clicks, right? Like if they're using an ATS, there's typically some kind of extension for their ATS, so they're adding a candidate into that extension. How would that work? Like technically they're two different platforms, right? Like they'll have their own ATS. How does Skillsheet integrate with that?
I'm glad you asked that question because I completely missed talking about this. So we have integration that we're building. If you all have heard, there's a platform basically that we integrate with once, and it's already integrated with all of the major ATSs. There's like 40, 60 or whatever number of them. So Greenhouse, Bullhorn, like you name it, Lever, etc., are all integrated. So our main mode of even starting might be like use whatever ATS that you want, and we will integrate with it, and you can decide when we should go and perform like this identity verification. Like maybe you move them to a particular stage or something like that, and then we go kick off our process, and then it comes back and writes back so that you don't have to do like this going back and forth between multiple tools. Thank you for asking that question. Oh, yeah, I have another question. So what signal would you like to get from a particular, like either candidate profile or application that would be valuable enough for you to pay, like whether that's identity is verified or something else entirely, or maybe there are like a couple of things.
I think in this AI space, depending on the company you're at, I'm thinking of one that I've been at not too long ago, is like where in the like what do they work on for AI? Because I think everyone says, oh, AI on their resume or on their platform, I mean on their profile. And sometimes like those of us in like AI companies are really looking for people who've worked on LLMs and like release models and things like that. There could be prompting or like letting you know, alerting you this is a true AI engineer and not just someone that has AI on their resume, and that can be validated in some way.
Okay, that's the second part of like that skill validation that we do. So I suppose we're on the right track, is what it sounds like.
This might be like very future state, but again, coming from like the engineering, like hiring for engineers, what we run into is that even if an engineer on paper looks good, they have a good interview, we get them to, they're meeting with the hiring manager will say, yeah, but like they didn't really work on that project. Like they were part of that project, but they weren't leading that project. They weren't, like they didn't do the cool part that we were looking for. So they'll mention something that they did or mention a skill, but ultimately it's not as cool as it sounds when they put it on paper, I guess, if that makes sense. So like having some kind of mechanism to actually check their GitHubs, and even like, I don't know, I know most companies don't have public GitHubs, but trying to see like really vetting what projects they've worked on or led. Like those two things are hard to really suss out. And it like wastes a lot of time. Like that's usually where the gap happens with engineering hiring.
That is interesting. On the topic of GitHub, we've one of the things that's on our roadmap to go look at and integrate with is there are a few tools that do this, like they'll scan your GitHub and rate kind of like how your so is integrating with that and giving like the score in like one place. I'm sure you'll have heard of like GitRoll is a new one that's kind of doing that. There are a few that do this, and so we do want to integrate with that because you're right, Sabrina. Like that provides a pretty good value in the decision-making process and something that doesn't actually surface from a job description, but it's something that the hiring manager or somebody has in their mind as they're making a decision.
Or almost like a mini, like, I know that's, again, maybe super future state, but like a mini like hacker rank or coder challenge that they do as part of their profile development on SkillSheet. So like you're kind of seeing up front. I mean, if they're job seekers, like they shouldn't mind.
Oh yeah,
sharing
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
Actually,
Actually,
like the rating. I would like. Can you give a rating on the profile? Because again, some of the fakes I'm seeing. All right, you mentioned it when you started showing fake profiles. Is like they had like there was one that had like 11 like connections on LinkedIn, and they were a senior data engineer, and they were tied to a company that they were the only employee. And then when you went into their GitHub, there was just some surface stuff, but you started poking around, and I'm like, how did that get missed, from somebody, and one of the hiring managers looked at this like resume was like, I wouldn't care about the 11 connections because I've stayed off LinkedIn. It's the other things, it's just like a kind of almost like a profile rating of how accurate and it is, that kind of thing.
yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay. Okay. All right. Any more questions I can answer or any other feedback? I'll gladly take it. Thanks, Mikola.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for showing us the demo. Anika, you and I will be in touch. So I think I kind of already explained how this works. We meet at the end of the month. This group will chat about all of the companies we've seen so far for Syelo Tank, kind of evaluate from there. But we'll be in touch in the meantime. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you.